Welcome to Satsang.
Hello, Vishrant. Can you please speak about today's topic, which is the question, can I wake up?
The problem is in the question. The I that asks the question, can I wake up, cannot wake up because it's a dream. It's imagined. It's not real. It seems real, but it's not real. Without imagination, it doesn't exist. Without reference points making it feel like it is a someone, it doesn't exist. So you can't actually wake up. What can happen is awakening can happen inside of you. And that is when that is aware of the mind becomes aware of itself. And that can be achieved through witnessing the mind, through self-inquiry. It's not that difficult to get a glimpse of who you are with self-inquiry, but that's not waking up. That's just a glimpse. That's all like an invitation, if you like, to do the work to produce a mind that will support what's been found. A mind that is constantly contracting against existence, against life, against your partner, against your children, against whatever happens in your life, that sort of mind is just going to attract awareness to itself and is not going to support higher consciousness or enlightenment. And so any human being can wake up, but it's not that they wake up, it's that's aware inside of them becomes aware of itself. And when that occurs, the I drops, the false I drops anyway. It's the one that wants awakening, it's the one that wants enlightenment, it's the one that puts the effort into producing a mind that will support that, but it's not the one that wakes up. Enlightenment is really, really simple. The thing that's aware of your mind becomes aware of itself and stays aware of itself 24 hours a day. That's enlightenment. Sometimes people make the mistake of thinking a Satori or a glimpse is enlightenment. No, that's simply a glimpse or a Satori. It's not enlightenment. Enlightenment is 24 hours a day. And someone who is enlightened has a Buddha field 24 hours a day, a field of energy around them that is produced by awareness being aware of itself. That is very beautiful. So, in answer to that question, no, you can't wake up.
The first question I have today, can someone awaken by accident?
They can have glimpses of who they are by accident. Ultimately, enlightenment is an accident, awareness becoming aware of itself, turning on itself and staying on itself. But anyone can have a Satori at any time through meditation, through even falling off a bike, through walking on a beach, through taking drugs. There's lots of different ways to get a glimpse of who we truly are, through self-inquiry, asking the question, what's aware? And that lets people know that there's something more than them, that something greater than them, something that's worth going for. And so Satori in itself it's just, once it's gone, it's gone. It's the past. It's not worth anything, except that it might motivate the mind to do what's required to facilitate it. A mind that is willing to facilitate enlightenment is a mind that is willing to learn unconditional surrender. because a mind that has mastered itself stays still. That makes it relatively easy for awareness to stay aware of itself. People have glimpses, and then awareness goes back to the mind and away from itself. Usually because the mind is somehow contracting or trying to work things out. So awareness goes back to the mind. Mind needs to learn to be quiet. Needs to learn to be still. So it can support what is found.
Next question has been written by Brian. Sometimes during self-inquiry, there is an experience of fear in the body. Is this because inquiry dissolves the ego and the ego is afraid it will die during inquiry?
That could be the reason. Fear comes up when the unknown presents itself. It's a survival mechanism to protect the mind and the body. And so in self-inquiry, you can start finding the emptiness, the silence, the nothingness of it all. And to the mind, that is the unknown. So it can throw up fear to survive it. Because that's all fear really is a survival mechanism, a defense system. So it's not uncommon for people to experience fear while self-inquiring because they're being presented, their mind is being presented with the unknown.
The next question is from a viewer on YouTube, referring to when you were talking about preparing the mind for enlightenment. Does not speaking help in this process?
The process is really an undoing process. It's not like personal growth, which makes you bigger, better, and more powerful. It's higher consciousness is an undoing process. It's taking away all the defenses. It's not making you more powerful. If anything, it's making you less than. We have so many different defense systems that are in the way of higher consciousness that protect us from feeling certain things. But those protective devices or defense systems keep us locked in lower consciousness. So they need to be challenged and undone. Need to be able to walk through the world vulnerable and open, not closed and defended. A closed and defended mind isn't going to support enlightenment. Openness counts for everything.
The next question has been written by Mario. Dear Vishrant, how important is it to have a dedicated meditation practice?
Well, we've got to look at first what is a meditation practice. When you're 2-3 years old, you're pretty much in meditation because you're aware of what was real. You hadn't learned to live in your head yet. You hadn't learned to live in dreamland yet. Then you went to school and you learned how to live in your head so you could solve problems. Most adults spend their whole life in their head solving problems, which is simply dreaming. Meditation is being aware of what is real. So if you're in your head solving problems, you're not in meditation, you're in dream actually. Meditation practice is simply so you can regain reality from the dream that you've been lost in since you began at school. Someone who's present to reality, just out here even, is in meditation all the time. But if you're thinking and your awareness is on your thinking, well, you're not in meditation. You're actually in dream. And so formal meditation practice basically helps people recover from the dream they've been lost in for most of their lives. And it's great to do. I had a practice of watching my breath. I loved it. And I used to sit for an hour to 3 hours a day when I could. Usually late at night, because I had a family to take care of and a job to do. So a lot of my meditating happened at night. But during the day, I kept myself very present to reality. I wasn't interested in living in my head because I knew what that meant. It's where people suffer. You look at animals like dogs and cats, you don't see them suffering much because they don't live in their heads. They are more into reality. They're more into what's happening now, not thinking about what might be happening later or before, or analysing what they should do. So animals like dogs and cats tend to be happier than human beings because human beings live in kind of procrastination inside their own mind, worried about the future, plotting and planning to get better, not really being that present to here and now. And so some business people and some other people, they get involved in games like squash, which demands present moment awareness. You cannot be dreaming while you're playing squash. You will lose. The idea is to maintain that level of present moment awareness in your whole life while you're relaxed. Very beautiful.
There's a second part to Mario's question. In your life, has meditation helped you a lot?
I don't know if the word helped is the right word to describe it. For me, being present to reality rather than present to dream, and everything you think is dream, by the way, has been most of my adult life because I love the present moment. I do not like living in my head, and I never have done. I went to school, private school, and there was lots of bullies. And if you were in your head dreaming, you got beaten up. It's pretty simple. It was best that you be aware of everything happening around you the whole time, and that way you could maintain safety. I took that into the rest of my life, that level of present moment awareness. So I was present of what was happening around me at all times. Now, when you start thinking, you lose ability to be present to what's happening around you because you've got your awareness on dream. And so as a teenager, I got into motorbikes, racing, rallying cars, martial arts, rugby, all these different sports, gymnastics, that enabled me to be very present for long periods of time. And I loved it. So for me, present moment awareness or meditation has been a large part of my life. And I've just loved it. I love being present. And I've loved hanging out with people who are present as well because they're alive. People who live in their heads all the time are quite dead.
Next, there's a question from Susha.
Hi, Bhagwan.
Hello.
Can you talk about the role of karma in waking up?
Heck yeah. Some teachers call waking up grace. That's because they don't really know what's happening, so they use the word grace. You hear a lot of it in spiritual circles, that it was by grace, rubbish. They just don't know the answer to the question. Everything is karmic. Everything is karmic. If your karma is right, you'll wake up. If it's not right, you won't. And whatever you've put into life, you are going to get back. That's just how it works. And not just this life, every life you've had. And so you go into a Buddhist monastery and speak to the abbot and say, what can I do towards enlightenment? And they'll say, become generous. become a giving person, become a kind person, because they know, and the Buddha stated this, that this is how you get good karma, and you need good karma to wake up. You can destroy negative karma by doing good karma, becoming a nice person, a selfless person instead of a selfish person. And of course, the highest karma that you can achieve is to teach the Dharma, because teaching the Dharma is teaching people how to be free. And that's the only way out of suffering. And so karma plays a very big part in awakening. Some people might like to call it grace. I just call it payback time.
So if I went out doing generous acts with the idea of improving my karma, am I not being selfish just thinking about it that way?
Yes, you are.
So you're saying just be generous just because, or
yeah. How about smiling at people? How about saying hello to people? How about holding a door open for someone? You know, there's lots of little things that we can do that are beautiful. It's up to you.
yeah. So someone can do all the work and still not wake up if their karma is not enough.
That's true. That's true. People who don't understand karma don't see it. It's not a belief system. It's an energy. And I don't want people to believe me either. But you must put it in the maybe column.
What do you mean it's energy?
Everything that we do creates an energy field. Karma is energy. It comes back. Everything that we do, everything that we say creates karma. And it comes back. Whatever we put into life, we get back. The law of karma.
Thank you, Bhagwan.
It's nice to be kind to people. It's best, actually. Be kind. Be nice. Be generous. This is the way of the heart.
The next question is from Neil.
Hello, Vishrant.
Hello, Neil.
Practice to write down our own thoughts on a paper. Is it going to raise our consciousness levels?
What raises the consciousness levels is seeing through the mind and how the mind is operating. And that is usually done by witnessing the mind. Writing down what you're seeing may help you remember what you've seen. You develop a silent witness that just witnesses what the mind's doing. And as you do, you don't get caught in the dream. You're just witnessing it all. And you see all the agendas. You see all the belief systems. You see everything that catches you. You see all the obstacles in the way. And this occurs as a result of witnessing the mind. Writing it down may help you remember what you've seen. But you don't do that while you're witnessing the mind. You can do that later. Witnessing the mind is not a doing. It is simply a witnessing.
Right. And about planning the future, isn't it a good thing to have a schedule and plan things ahead?
Yeah, people try to push me into that all the time. I like having no appointments. I like getting in the car and not knowing where I'm going and just drive until I get there. And that doesn't help. That doesn't help much, I guess. But I found that if you have appointments, you've kind of imprisoned yourself from now until that appointment. And so I don't like appointments much. I prefer to have a blue sky to fly in without any obstacles, without any stops, and see where I go. So quite often I've got a driver called Sai, and Sai comes and picks me up and he says, "Where are we going?" And I says, "I don't know." And so we start driving, and on the way we decide.
All right.
Yeah, it could be anywhere. And coming out with me is dangerous. Even if I said that I was going to a hardware store, we might get there, we might not, and we might go to half a dozen other places as well. You never know. Because from my understanding, life is an adventure to be had.
Right. Okay. And another question was about thinking about death. Is it good to think about the reality that death will come someday?
So what you're talking about is impermanence, contemplating impermanence. Everything that is born dies. Everything that is built falls down. We live in this dream that we're going to be here tomorrow, later. It's actually a dream. The understanding and the comprehension of impermanence brings us back to a reality that this is the only moment we have. There is no guarantee past this moment. And because it's the only moment we have and there's no guarantee past it, we can really enjoy this moment because we're not postponing anything. We're doing it now because now is real. And we're in imminent danger of not being here later anyway, because everything dies. No postponement. Squeeze the juice out of life right now.
Right. Yep. So that was it. Thank you, Vishrant.
Look, people need to have goals, because that's just the world we live in. So you have a goal, you create a plan, doesn't take long, and then when it comes time for that goal to be done, you're involved in it, you execute the plan. No need to think about it in between times.
Right.
Thanks, Neil.
The next question is from Abay.
Hello, Abay.
Hi, Bhagwan. Bhagwan, can you please talk a little bit about using the art, the painting and sketching to learn to be in flow and not stuck in life?
Okay. So if you want to, art's a funny thing. It's if you really want to be in flow with art and you're not very good at art, it's best to be a little bit abstract rather than realistic. Because if you try to do something that's too realistic, you're going to be too focused and you probably get caught and move out of flow. You're better off being more abstract, where there's a lot of room for error. And then you can remain in flow. Unless, of course, you're a really good practiced artist, and then you can stay in flow and do something very accurate. But if you're not a really good artist, go for a more abstract style until you get really good. Remain in flow. Remain in creativity rather than concentration and understanding brought about by thinking too much about what you're doing. There's lots of different types of art. There's dancing's art, painting's art, drawing's art. I used to do silversmithing, which is art. Walking can be art, depends how you walk. You get creative with your walk. Anything that's creative is art. Comedy's art. The more in flow you... Well, I walk differently. Sometimes I walk this way and sometimes I walk that way. Get creative with the walking,
thought even working can be creative.
Oh, yeah. Washing the dishes can be creative. What you're doing with the bubbles. They make little patterns with the bubbles, sort them out over here, sort them out over there, splash them in together. It's all, play is art. Art is creativity. Play is creativity. You want to stay in flow? Just play. That's why I talked about when painting, it's probably better to be abstract, particularly if you're not a good artist, because that way you won't get caught in focusing and analysing. You'll be able to stay in flow.
I have done realistic paintings, but I have still, I've done some very good paintings, but I still feel very stuck in painting, in life.
What about cooking? You cook, don't you?
Yes.
Cooking's art. Don't follow a recipe. Guess. Will this go with that? Experiment. Make it an art form. And if someone complains about the meal, just say, don't you like my art? I lived with my fiance, who was a gourmet chef, for 3 years, and she taught me how to cook. And she taught me that cooking is artwork. It's art. You don't follow a formula. You feel it out. You guess it. You play with it. You get creative. And hopefully you don't poison anyone.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Washing your hair could be art. You wash this bit, and you wash this bit. Then you go to this bit here, and then maybe a bit over here. And you're playing, you see. Any kind of play is art because it's creativity.
So you're saying life is full of the chances to become a creative person.
Yeah, or you can get stuck and live in your head.
Yeah, that's what I've done.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
You want to get yourself a puppy. Puppies know how to play.
I'm scared of the work that comes along the puppy.
You know, I think I've played my whole life. I didn't stop playing when I became a businessman. I just continued to play a different game. And I found that a lot of people don't know how to play unless they're drunk or they're drugged, because that's when their inhibitions are taken away. The thing that stops people from playing is fear. Never, ever serve fear. Make sure you play. Okay?
Yes, Bhagwan. Thank you very much, Bhagwan.
Okay.
The next question has been written by Brian. He held a satsang that was about gauging spiritual progress. Isn't gauging progress pointless since it takes us into the past and into dream, which aren't real?
Yes, it is pointless, but you'll have to answer the questions that are asked. People who are ego-based want to know about these things. The highest teaching is in silence. But I don't meet that many people who are ready for the highest teaching. So I teach a lower form of teaching, which is with words. And I answer questions, which takes people into past and future, measuring all sorts of things. But that's what they're ready for. If you're really ready for enlightenment, you're ready for silence and stillness.
The next question has been written by Prem Vishrant. Namaste, Vishrant. Have you had opportunities to practice bardo meditation?
What was that word again?
Bardo, B-A-R-D-O.
I think that may be Mahayana. You know, I probably have, but I wouldn't know if it was called that. I've practiced every meditation that I came across. All the different Buddhist meditations, all the different Hindu meditations. I just love practicing different meditations. So I may have, but I don't know if it was called bardo or not. If you give me a description of what you mean, I'll tell you whether I have or I haven't. And I'll tell you what I found or I didn't.
Oh, Prabhat's put his hand up.
Hey, Prabhat.
Hi, Vishrant.
Hello.
Nice to talk to you live. So happy about it.
I had a very good friend called Prabhat many years ago, and you're a Prem Prabhat. Oh, cool. Beautiful.
Yeah, that's my sannyas name.
Yes.
Okay. Let me give a description about this meditation. This is from a Buddhist scripture written by Padmasambhava. It's called Bardo Thodol, Thodol. And this is a meditation in which the Tibetan monks communicate with departed soul, helping them to take on a better life form after they have passed away.
Yes.
So I have been developing a keen interest on this for the past few months.
Yes.
Some months ago, I lost a very close friend. So he died within 4 or 5 months due to cancer. I never thought he would die for a long time. So since then, I have been attracted to this method. And there is also a very formulated type of method within the world of Osho. So I just wanted to know if you have practiced it and how can it help people who are alive?
Yes. I have been involved in it. In 1987, I started having Satoris. And about that time, one of my aunties died. My brother had rung me up and said, Auntie Billy has died. And I was instantly thrown into that space where she was. She had left her body, but she was still around. And she was lost and she was frightened. And I joined her and led her into the emptiness. I don't know why that happened, but it was the bardo meditation. I had heard about it because I had studied the Tibetan monks' Book of the Dead. I don't know if that helps people who are alive. It can assist people who have died because it can guide them into letting go of fear and entering into the emptiness, which has the potential of finishing the cycle of samsara. And that's maybe what happened, but I don't know. I tend to try to keep away from anything that's not my own direct experience, because in spirituality, there's so much rubbish. So I stay with what's been my own direct experience only. I would say if it's been months since your friend died, they've probably gone by now. They're probably not still around. But I don't know that for sure either. After we die, something leaves the body and goes into the emptiness, ready for rebirth. But before it goes deeply in, it can still be contacted. And this is what I think you're talking to me about. Is that correct, Prabhat?
That's right, Vishrant. So, I'm okay if I'm not able to contact with the departed soul, but still, I just want to know if departing soul can be helped on to a better life in the next stage. So, there are so many people leaving us, family members, elders, parents, friends, and so on. So, can we do our bit, instead of just watching them go? So I was asking that question from that perspective.
I believe so, but you've got to be able to do it. And there lies the problem. I don't know why I've been able to do that. I've been able to do it since 1987. I can find people who have died, if they've died very recently, and I can direct them, basically, not with words, just with peace. I can surround them with love and I can surround them with peace, and they can relax and let go into that. But I don't know how I'm able to do that. It happened as a result of Satori's and awakening. And so to me, it's a little bit of a mystery. But if someone dies, or I'm told, I can usually join them for a small period of time. And during that period of time, there's nothing to be said. It's just surrounding that energy field that they are in love and peace. And in that, whatever's left of the ego relaxes completely, and they have the potential then of not coming back at all. Does that make sense?
Yes, Vishrant. Yes.
Look, I have studied how this works, but I don't believe anything I ever read anyway. It has to be my direct experience as it has to be your direct experience. You can't rely on what other people say, because there's too much rubbish in spirituality. But there's definitely something in the bardos. Because I didn't, like you, I was a Osho sannyasin. I didn't come through the Tibetan Mahayana religion. So I didn't get caught up in its smells and bells and rituals. I'm absolutely pragmatic. Whatever works, I'm involved in. But I'm not involved in anything that I don't know about, because it's too dangerous. It's too dangerous to play. If you want to play with these people in another realm, project as much love as you can towards them, because that love holds peace, and that's actually what they need. Because quite often when people die, they're frightened. And
Yes.
that fear, the fear keeps them coming back. If you can project love into them, the mind that is there, the whatever's there, whatever it is, can relax in that. And so anything that dies, when I'm close by, I take them into love. And it happened 20 years ago. I was holding a rabbit. It had myxomatosis, and it died in my arms. And I felt its energy come into my energy, and I felt it expand into the universe. And so I think we can do that sort of thing, but I don't really understand how, Prabhat.
Sure, Vishrant. So the next time when I come across this situation, I'll just sit still and see if.
It's not just sitting still. It's more than sitting still. It's projecting love. Can you love that person? Can you love that animal or whatever is it's died? Can you love it? Because then you're surrounding it in love. Because there is no distance between you and I. There may seem to be, because we're on different parts of the world, but in truth, everything is beingness and we are one. So there's no distance between you and I. So when you project love at someone who's died, they're here. They're not somewhere else. They're here because we are everywhere. Does that make sense?
Yes, Vishrant.
And so I'm with you now. I cannot not be with you now. And I can love you now.
Thanks a lot, Vishrant.
We both had a beautiful master, my friend.
Yes.
He taught me what I know. Is there
Thanks a
anything
lot.
else?
Nothing else for now.
Call
you
me
so
again
much.
sometime, Prabhat.
Definitely. I will.
Thank you.
The next question has been written by Mona. Vishrant, I recently came across your recorded satsangs for the first time. Was Osho your last teacher, or were you presented with others after?
Osho was my only teacher from 1982 until 1990 when he died. He was my spiritual master. I was his sannyasin. After that period, I practiced what he taught for another 7 years. And then the Advaita Vedanta teachers started coming to Perth, West Australia, where I live. And I was interested in seeing them because they had come through the Papaji lineage, Ramana Maharshi lineage. And so I booked to go down southwest for a retreat for 14 days with Isaac Shapiro, who was an Advaita Vedanta teacher who had been with Papaji. And I was sitting in the auditorium and he walked in the door and awakening happened immediately. The presence was enough. It didn't stay. I went back to ego-based reality, but it happened immediately. And so I took on the Advaita Vedanta teachers who were coming to town as my teachers. And that was Gangaji. And I also took on Ramesh Balsekar, even though I never met him, as a teacher, and Ramana Maharshi and Papaji, and a man called Vartman. These are all Advaita Vedanta teachers. And I was very taken by Advaita Vedanta because it seemed like an instant way to get to beingness. And for me, after a year of Satoris, the Satori remained. What I didn't realize at the time was it was because I'd already done all the work on my own mind. I'd been practicing what Osho had been teaching. I'd been practicing acceptance. I'd been practicing meditation, practicing witnessing the mind, practicing removing all the obstacles that were in the way of openness. And so by the time the Advaita Vedanta teachers got to town where I lived, I was ready for them. And I thought that everybody was waking up. I didn't realize that that wasn't the case at the time. And for quite a few years, I mostly taught in Satsang Advaita Vedanta methodology of self-inquiry until I come to realize that people needed more work on their minds rather than showing them how to find truth. Because the mind has to be prepared for enlightenment. If you ever meet anyone who's awake, you'll notice one thing about them. They are wide open. All of them. Wide, wide, wide open. Well, that doesn't happen by mistake. They developed a mind that is wide open, that will support enlightenment. And so nowadays I teach people how to find truth, but I also teach them how to see through their mind, how to undo their mind, the nuts and bolts of psychology, basically, so they can become more conscious of their mind and let things go that are in their way.
The next question is from a viewer on YouTube. Hello, could you speak some more about self-inquiry and how to practice that?
Yeah. Sometimes it's called the question, who am I? But that's not very accurate. More accurate is, what am I? Or what's aware? And so a thought arises in the mind, and then the question, what's aware of that thought, comes. And in asking the question, you don't answer it. You just ask the question, which leaves the potential for that that's aware of the question to become aware of itself. Now, for me, self-inquiry used to go on for days. I'd inquire into every thought that arose in my mind, what's aware, and then follow the thought back to the source. And after a while, I found it quite easy to find source, that nothingness, that vast emptiness, that vastness that cannot be described but is us. And I thought at the time, this is wonderful stuff. I'm starting to find truth as self. But I as an I hadn't been annihilated enough yet to support it. There hadn't been enough acceptance of everything as it is to support it. So when we start to accept life as it is completely, instead of resisting life as it is, we are preparing a mind that will support enlightenment. And so Vedanta's methodology of self-inquiry will work to turn awareness back to itself. But will it stay there? Don't know about that. Hasn't been my experience that many people can stay. It's not like you can hang on to anything either. It's like you don't hang on to beingness. You can't hang on to anything. You're in free fall. The mind's relaxed. But you just keep inquiring. What's aware? Don't answer it. Another thought comes. What's aware? Another thought comes. What's aware? You just keep asking the question. What's aware? Keep heading back to the source. You'll start to find emptiness, nothingness, vastness, silence, stillness. You're starting to find the symptoms. Just keep inquiring. Okay.
The next question is from Kelly. During the initial practice of awareness, I actually have less smiles, less reactions towards the outer world. Yet, how can we remain a child? Can you please comment?
This might be a hard one for you to hear, but I haven't felt human in 22 years. When awareness found itself and stayed on itself, the mind just rested in beingness, knowing that beingness was true self, and it wasn't. It just rested in beingness, profoundly content for no reason. Emotionality stopped. Fear has not been experienced in 22 years. The thing is, the body and the mind is basically a spacesuit. We're the pure awareness that is aware of it. In other words, we're not the mind or the body. And so as you find yourself more and more as truth, there's less and less human, because the human is the spacesuit. And there's nothing wrong with a spacesuit. You might have an onboard computer that's a bit nuts, but there's nothing wrong with it. But it's not who we are. What's aware of it? And so after awakening, I basically sat still for about 6 months, just staring into space, blissed out to the max, profoundly content for no reason. And then one of my teachers came along and dragged me out, said, you've got to be in the world. Well, then I had to learn to blink, because I hadn't been blinking for about 6 months, just staring into space. And when talking to people, I had to learn to look away every now and again so I wouldn't scare them, because I'd forgotten what it was like to be human. So it doesn't surprise me when someone who starts finding themselves as beingness has problems with not being human or not having the normal emotions or being detached, because that's actually what happens. I have not felt human in 22 years. I know about the body, I know about the spacesuit, I know how its mind thinks, but what I am doesn't think. It's just here, it's pure awareness. What the body and the mind does actually has nothing to do with who I truly am.
The next question has been written by Brian. On the topic of Tibet, do you find Dzogchen style meditation helpful? I love Zen and Dzogchen.
What is Dzogchen meditation? Please describe to me. And then we'll discuss it. And Zen, did you mention Zen meditation? Oh,
Yeah.
It's just watching the breath, but it could be watching a dot on the wall as well. You know, there's different types of Zen meditation. I used to like watching dots on walls, and I used to like watching my breath. That was my favorite one. I used to sit in a half lotus position, watching my breath with my eyes open at a 45-degree angle to the ground. And I used to do that for hours upon hours because I loved that meditation.
The next question has been written by Neil. I've noticed that Osho also rarely blinked. Is it for the same reason that you just mentioned?
I would say so. See, I can put on an act and pretend to be a somebody, but I don't sense anybody here. So it's all an act. But then again, everybody's acting. It's just that most people aren't aware they're acting. You watch how their act changes depending on who they're talking to, whether they're talking to their parents or their children or their boss or their employees or a policeman or the checkout girl at the supermarket. Watch how people change. They don't recognize the change, but they don't recognize that it's all just one act being exchanged for another act. But everybody is acting. I'm just aware I'm acting. I'm pretending to be a human being. I think Osho was pretending the same. There was nobody there.
The next question is from Mona. Do you also have silent retreats?
We call them silent retreats, but really they're, well, people can't talk inside of them except when we're in group. And they're more or less a space where people are in the Buddha field and they're getting the opportunity to be taken apart. So I work with people in group for 10 hours a day, something like that. There are breaks between. And basically, I just take people apart or get them involved in self-inquiry, inner child work, whatever's appropriate on the day. There's never a plan. It's always spontaneous. It's a great undoing, if you like. Outside the group, everyone's silent. No one can talk, so everyone's silent. Inside the group, they might be able to talk to me, but they usually can't talk to each other. So it is silent to a large degree. But it really is a mystery school. Everyone is getting undone because this is the game of undoing. We were all programmed so badly. We were never programmed to be free. We were never programmed to be happy. We were programmed so badly. And so my job is just to be. And that's not even a job. That's just what is. But on top of that, because I trained in psychotherapy and counseling for 40 years, I help people undo themselves so they can be free. It's pretty intense. On another note, though, this will be the last Saturday morning worldwide webinar. Worldwide webinars will be held on Friday nights because we do a worldwide webinar on Friday night, public Satsang. Be held on Thursday nights and Wednesday nights. So 3 nights a week, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday nights will be worldwide webinar. And people can attend, they can ask questions, they can be in Satsang. This will be the last Saturday morning one. Thank you, Satsang. Good to see all you brave hearts here today.